All right, you guys, this is a real treat today. I am here with Chef T of Vegan Teas. She is the owner and chef of a very well-established vegan eatery in Orland Park, Illinois, established since 2019. I absolutely love having like-minded, plant-based people on this platform with me, especially those who also can relate to feeding people as part of their passion and their projects of their life. So welcome, Chef T.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
I am so excited to have you here. It's just wonderful to see you doing the work that you're doing. Um, Feeding people, helping people just have accessibility to plant-based eating, helping them understand that it's delicious. Those are all things so close to my heart.
Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, it was over, I want to say 14 years ago now, I was 251 pounds and I was vegetarian. Okay, so that was the first thing that when the doctor said, if you don't lose this weight, we're gonna start you on diabetic medication. And I'm like, no, but I'm vegetarian. So I thought that was the answer to all things. And it kind of may have been. But then when I started researching the animals, it was literally, you know, there was a lot of reasons. Some mine started off as a medicinal thing. And then as I began to research everything that was happening with animals, it was like, oh God, this is not making sense to me anymore. And we don't really need to eat that way. So anyway, I'm jumping ahead. So go ahead. Ask anything you want, darling.
That no, anywhere, any insight in your journey is always welcome. The conversation, I love it that it can just be fluid and hearing about how your journey started in terms
Mhm.
of you finding yourself in a space of needing to do something about your health, but then it quickly moved forward into all the other important components of veganism as well. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, 14 years ago, let's go a little bit further than that. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And this autoimmune disease, no one in my family ever had it. Now my cultural background, my grandmother on my dad's side was Creek Indian. My grandfather on my mom's side is Navajo Indian. So we're 50% Indian right here, right? So, and I just recently found all that out. It's like, oh, that answers some of the questions here. And so we have that. Now, my family's from New Orleans and Louisiana. So we come from a very rich, background of eating things that are, spicy, but oil, buttered down type stuff, and having that as part of my culture, a lot of my family was diagnosed with diabetes and with high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Now, I believe that um, diabetes is also a contributor to Alzheimer's. So sugar is a problem for me. I also believe that when you remove a lot of these toxins that are put into your physical body from what they give the animals, is some of the reasons why we look the way we do, we feel the way we do, and that we have some of the issues that we do. Now, with that being stated, as I mentioned, I started off with an autoimmune disease. Prior to the autoimmune disease, I would break out in hives out of nowhere. I could even feel them coming on. So that was even 20 years prior to that. So we've got a lot of health issues going on, but not making any headway as to what's happening. Doctors not being able to figure it out. Well, everything is coming back okay. But I'm like, okay, so what is this? What is this doing? Not knowing that my diet had a lot to do with it, right? So here I am, 5'7", 200, and at that time, 40 pounds, not so bad. People are like, oh, you don't look that bad. Anytime they put that in the question, there's a problem. So I went vegetarian because I still could get fish in my diet. And that was before they started naming it being pescatarian, before they started putting chicken out of the picture, before the cheese was not taken. I mean, so we've evolved, right? So we go into the doctor 14 years ago. So now we're at this 14 years. I've got the autoimmune disease. We've got the high cholesterol, the 2 points before prediabetes, and the doctor says you've got to lose weight. But you don't have to. You can stay eating like this and just take this medication. And that's not an answer for me. That was a band-aid. That wasn't a solution. I said, what's the solution? She goes, well, people really don't want to lose weight because, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to change anything. And that ticked me off. That made me so mad that I'm like, well, let me find out first. And so I fasted for 30 days. I said, I'm not going to eat anything because I don't know what's causing what. And when I did that, I got sick, went to the hospital, and they found this glob of meat sitting in my stomach. This is the true story. They had to take surgery by blasting it out to get it out of my system. And when they did that, I lost in the hospital 47 pounds in the
Wow.
hospital. I was like, you know what? Never going to eat meat again. Period. End of story. Now, my brother is an orthodontist, and he said, number one, I can give a client antibiotics and it's not working. He says, you know why it's not working? Because we're giving our animals antibiotics, and so you're ingesting this, and so now it's not working on you. So these infections are coming back harder. They're coming back stronger, and I'm like, this is weird. This is crazy, and people are dying of heart attacks and high blood pressure, and so with all of that being stated, I had already had a background in culinary arts. I also have 4 other degrees, so I'm not the brightest person on earth. I just got a lot of paper on my wall, that's all. But I realized that if I stop eating animals, if I stop eating, whatever they're ingesting those animals with, and then one day I went to a farm and there was these little chickens that we were naming, right? And the next thing I know, I looked out there and the chickens were gone. And I'm like, can I ask a question? And the lady goes, yeah. I said, are those chickens that we were seeing out there on this table? And she says, oh yeah. I was done. I was done. I was done and devastated at the same
Done and
time, right?
devastated. That's it.
So now the position is even changing more. I've got more of a mission here. Um, you know, I just believe that our FDA, who is orchestrating, what we eat on our plates and how we do things, have literally poisoned our country with making animals bigger than what they're supposed to be, faster, and causing all of these other crazy things to happen in our diet. Well, and before I even say that point, let me just say this. After being vegan for the first 2 years, I lost all of the weight. I went from 241 or 247 or 251 actually to 140 pounds, which is what I am today. And my autoimmune disease went into remission. No cholesterol issues happening. And of course, no diabetes. So that told me that my diet, what I was eating, had something to do with how I feel, how I look, and how my body was performing. So now we got to ask the question, did the animals that I was eating, did that poison my system to cause it to go thwart, or to cause it to maybe and did it reverse it to make it slow down, to make it, lethargic, to make it not move effectively, to make it not fight the way it's supposed to? The answer is yeah, because it's not putting the fuel that I need in my system to drive it was not working. That's like putting, you got a sports car and you're putting, the low grade gas in it, and it's not doing what it's supposed to do. So does my body need to have this stuff in it? No, it doesn't. The problem I have is people will walk into my restaurant and literally ask me 1,001 questions and then go and get impossible meat and eat that with all of the preservatives in that. And I'm like, I'm confused. I'm giving you natural food. I'm giving you food that have no preservatives in it, no MSG, no 144 FNL, which is lithoxanidine stuff, whatever it is, you know, and continuing to kill your enzymes that are no good for you, um, that are generated from whatever scientists that they have to make it bigger or whatever, or to last longer, I should say, and it's still doing damage to you, than to eat naturally. So for me, with all of the things that happened in my family, with my mom having Alzheimer's, with two of my family members dying of diabetes, to one of my friends getting his kidney because he started becoming vegan and eating my food, and I started being a chef. So I'm seeing the good from being vegan, and I'm seeing the negative from not. It's not a a no-brainer. You follow what I'm saying? And of course, a lot of people they hate what we say, because I can make something taste like steak. I can make it taste like chicken. I can make it taste like a gyro. I can make it do all of that. But what I can do is also save your life so that you don't kill yourself quickly with eating animals. And you save the animals. How great is that? Right? So again, I know I said a whole lot in a whole lot of different ways, but I just feel like this is the better way to live. And I think that this is this medicinal way. If you want to heal yourself, you heal yourself by what you put into your body, and you heal yourself by not putting more damaged goods in your system that's rotting and doing other damage, in your system than what it shouldn't, So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I don't
It's an
use
amazing,
salt and I don't use sugar.
okay. It's an amazing story and, very inspiring because it is speaking direct truth about exactly what you have been through and exactly what you are advocating for. And I mean, I just love it. I loved every word of that. And it is a no-brainer for a lot of us that are living the lifestyle of eating plant-based or eating vegan. I know that those terms get used interchangeably quite a bit, but
Yeah.
basically removing animals from your plates specifically and not having the repercussions of consuming that day in and day out anymore. Once you stop doing that and once you allow your body to heal and detox from that, it
Yeah.
is very clear what the problems are and what they have been. It's a matter of being honest with yourself about that and not allowing just your taste buds or your appetite to dictate your life, essentially. And when you can have amazing food, like from places like Vegan Teas, that you handcraft with love, it is not a hard decision in any way to just stop eating animals.
And that's the thing. I guess I'm always surprised when people walk in my door, and they are battling with weight, they're battling with low energy, they're battling with um, you know, the belly fat. Okay, let's talk about that for a second, because 90% of our problems, and I'm going to say 90% from a perspective of the cholesterol stuff, because cholesterol is the train wreck that causes the heart attacks, it causes the arteries hardening, it causes the high blood pressure, it causes the diabetes, and it seems like everybody has diabetes today. It just seems like that's the norm, but it really shouldn't be the norm. We went from eating vegetables from your garden, from your farm, from your community. So I'm going to date myself a little bit. I came up in a community in Beverly, right in Chicago, where in every backyard there was a fruit tree of some sort. You either had a pear tree back there, an apple tree back there, you had cherries back there, you had plums. We had plums in our backyard. Our neighbor had apples, somebody else had green apples, somebody else had red apples. And every year we had a harvest day. And so everybody who grew something, we'd all come together and we'd have this fashion show, and we had this, outdoor event where people were canning things, and we just traded what we had. And so you didn't hear of all of these weird diseases that are going on today. They're being developed and enveloped every day. Now, what bothers me is when somebody comes to my restaurant and they want to ask me, is everything vegan? I literally lose it. I'm like, uh, yeah. I have vegan tattoos on my arm right now. And it's a plant. It's the olive branch that I have. So not only do I have an olive branch made out of vegan tattooing on my arm, but every time I extend my arm, I'm extending the olive branch because I want you to know that I'm in that restaurant. I'm doing stuff by hand. I'm putting the energy in it so that you can eat healthy so that the prices can be down. So let's stop the myth. It's too expensive to be vegan. Lie number one. Lie number
Absolutely.
one. It is such a lie that it bothers me to the core. I can go get a red bell pepper, okay, and cut that bad boy up and eat it raw. And what I'm paying 99 cents for it. And I'm probably not going to be able to eat the whole thing because when you eat that rich antioxidant food, it's feeding my system and I don't eat as much. But as long as I eat some animal and my plate is full of chicken or steak, and then I got a little bit of potatoes on the side and a little bit of corn and a little bit of something else that I don't really need. And I've got all of this, homogenated oils out here and the fat that's coming from butter and all this other stuff and milk and everything like that. And I got to eat more of it because my body is sitting back saying, I need vitamin A, I need some vitamin D, I need some vitamin C, and it's not getting it. So it keeps eating and eating and eating. And now I'm overweight because my body's trying to satisfy itself. But when you're vegan, your body is saying, oh, thank you for the vitamin A. Thank you for vitamin C that you gave me. Thank you for vitamin D. Oh, you gave me some zinc. Guess what? I'm full already. And you haven't even eaten a cup full of food because your body says, I'm satisfied because you gave me what I needed. Here's what I tell people. If you've ever had an itch in the middle of your back, you cannot reach it, you ask one of your family members, can you scratch this itch for me? And they missed it. You get frustrated, right? But if I hit that itch right where it is the first time, I'm satisfied. That is the easiest way I can explain it. So my body's satisfied. Now you see where my heart comes from. Your body's satisfied when it's getting the nutrients it needs. And so I spend for myself. And yeah, I own the restaurant, but I cook my own food at home the way I like it, even though I love that food too. But I never eat all of that type of stuff. And so on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, my food bill, kid you not, is probably about $45 a month. Yeah, okay, I'm the chef. Yeah, I know how to make my own food, but $45 a month. And I very seldom eat fried food. Why? Because I know me, I'll overdo everything. So I try to do grill more or less. I'll do raw a little bit, but I can't do a lot of raw because I don't have the enzyme in my system based off of my physical problem. However, my body is satisfied and I don't overeat. I don't like the feeling of being stuffed to the hilt. So my point of what I was trying to say was is when people come into our restaurant with these these unethical answers about why they can't be vegan because they think it costs too much or they have to have meat in their diet and you're tired and they're dark under their eyes because there's no oxygen coming into their system and all these other myths that they've made up in their own head from somebody else telling them something that's not true. It amazes me. And it not only amazes me, it angers my heart because I'm like, you're killing yourself every day by what you're not giving yourself, but you're not willing to get what you need and you think you can't afford it. Well, can you afford to be in the box? And I mean in the casket earlier than you're supposed to be? Are we supposed to die at 60 years old because of the fact that my grandmother did? So here's something that I saw. I was in Indonesia some years ago, probably about 20 years ago. Well, probably even more longer than that. Maybe it was 30 something years ago. And everybody in Indonesia was walking to wherever they were going. And I'm talking people late in their 80s and 90s years of age, baskets on their heads, and they're walking everywhere they needed to go. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is a different type of culture. So here we have in America where, we drive to the mailbox. You understand what I'm saying? We're not walking anywhere, nor do we eat from the earth. We want it to be fast. We want it to be 15 seconds McDonald's or whatever. We don't want to put the time into the foods that we eat, but then we complain about our health, how we feel, how we look, trying to find some remedy of putting some lotion on our face to make us look 5 years younger when it's your food that's causing you to look that way, you know. So I don't know how much more we have to say, but now let's look at what the FDA is doing to us. The FDA is causing our food to be a little bit more expensive. Why? Not because it has to be, but because of the fact that they want the products to be so expensive that you're forced back to eating a $2 piece of cheese instead of paying $5 for it because they went up on our product. So we have to charge more. So it's that little yin and yang type thing that the FDA is doing. Instead of coming after your FDA and saying, hey, you can govern this and you can go down on these prices because you know that's necessary. But if I talk to the Food Administration and force them to go down on the prices that will help heal the body, then guess what? Now that Eli Squid is mad at me because now nobody's buying, diabetic medication, nobody's buying the high blood pressure medication, nobody's getting, cholesterol medication because we're now fixing ourselves, we're healing ourselves and all to from just getting a 98-cent avocado and putting that in my diet, a good fat. Instead, we'd rather say our food is too expensive. Come on. It
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
make
it's
sense.
just not true. It's just not true. And it's really unfortunate because so many people put so much stock in what the FDA or other government entities are telling us as if it's supposed to be like our truth and way of life. And then um, not understanding that really it's a business. It's
Yeah.
not profitable to eat plants for the government. It's not profitable for you to heal yourself or to
No.
stay out of hospitals or to know how to use the earth for medicine. Um, it's not profitable. So, of course, they're going to make it more challenging for most people to afford plant-based eating. Unless
Hmm.
you're growing your own, like you said, unless you're working with your community to come together and share the wealth in terms of the food that you're growing yourself.
Yeah.
That's where we take our power back, I feel like, in terms
Yeah.
of getting back to our sustainability on our own.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I just wish that there was a way to push the matter of fact, I've got this rant I did on social media just a couple of days ago. I got this email from Impossible Meat. I was so ticked off. I was so ticked off. So what I did was I researched what was in their burger, you know, and I'm looking at all of these, 144 FNXL, 162, whatever, whatever. Now you got to understand a couple of things, and I don't want to knock this company too bad, but I did online because they sent me Chef T, culinary arts student, graduated, and it sends me this. Do you want to offer our food in your restaurant? Now, I'm sorry. The whole reason why we're eating healthy is because we want to get away from preservatives and we want to get rid of all of these other tomfoolery things that are causing, breast cancer, causing, testicular cancer, causing high blood pressure, causing all of these causations that are coming from preservatives that we don't know what it's doing to our physical body. We've always had plants. We've always had there's so many plants out there that you would be able to make something different for 7,000 years almost, because we haven't had all of the plants. We don't know what they are. We don't have we've not had them all. I haven't had them all. I don't know about you, but there's still something I'm still like, okay, how do you do this? And what does this taste like? And what do you do
Mhm.
with it? And what country is it from?
Anyways, so when I got this letter from them, I responded, "Do you know who I am?" I never thought I'd ever do that.
I
Do
love
you
that so much.
you know, it was that thing. Do you know who I am? And I went back and forth with that situation. And then I said, I make everything by hand. I make my own meat. Why would I want to use your food? And so I started knocking off what they do and how they do it. And make a long story short, the lady says, "Well, I'm vegan too. And I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you." I said, "Well, if you're vegan, then you should push this crap. You should know better." So I get on social media and I blast them. And I said, if you go to restaurants that serve it, fine. I don't know about you, but every time I tried to eat it, I got sick. And I said, so what's in it that's making me sick? Now, please understand this. When you offer food in a grocery store or in a restaurant, you only have to list the primary 10 ingredients in that recipe. You do not have to add all the other things that you may put in that may not be plant based. That's why I don't like that term plant based,
Hmm.
because it means that it is based on it, but it doesn't mean that it's 100%. So we don't know what's all in it. So
Hmm.
now I'm nervous. I don't know what's all in this stuff. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, what is causing the stomach cramps if I ate it? I remember one time I went somewhere and a friend of mine says, "Well, T, we got something for you. You know, we got some that impossible stuff, and I know you're going to be hungry, and we don't want you to cook, so we figured this would be okay." I was like, "This is before I researched them." I said, "Okay, well, it's vegan, so I'll try it." And thank God there was a bathroom not many steps away. My stomach swelled up. I immediately started getting hot. I started perspiring and it came out in every direction that it, I was like, oh my God, what's going on with me? And so I've never eaten it again. And so I've run into a lot of vegans that tell me the same story. From the perspective of trying to get people away from eating animals, I understand that part. I get that that it can be good for that perspective. But to continue down that line and never coming away from it, I don't know.
It's
I
a
have my
transitional food, if you ask me. I mean, if it's not making you violently ill like it did for you,
yeah,
it can serve as a transitional away from animals and into plants for people that need some type of buffer system during that time. But it shouldn't be a lifelong way of eating, just like eating any other kind of processed food should be any kind of lifelong way of eating. I too
Yeah,
refrain from having any type of impossible or beyond in my own eatery. I made everything from scratch. I made it with my own
yeah,
hands because
yeah.
I wasn't there to feed people just, processed vegan food. That was never
Right, exactly.
the purpose at all. So I absolutely understand why you just looked at that email confused. Like, what is this
I
even
was so
for?
ticked off. I was like,
Yeah,
oh my
it
God.
was
I was,
insulting.
it is. I was so mad. And then I get online and I didn't think anybody was going to look at it. This thing is still it's still going up in numbers. It's still, people are still like, oh my God, I'm so with you on that. And then I see restaurants that are flourishing using this stuff and they're doing is putting ketchup or you know tomatoes on it or whatever and a bunch of condiments and they're covering it up and it's making me so angry because I make our ketchup, I make our mustard, I make our barbecue sauce, I make the tzatziki sauce, and I'm sitting up here going, I'm killing myself, you guys,
Yeah.
so that I can give you good stuff. I'm going to the store. Sometimes you'll see me, I ran out, because we oversold and I underestimated that it was going to sell like it did. And you see me running to the store buying stuff and I'm 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 tired, exhausted, but I'm inside I'm happy,
Hmm.
because somebody says I can do this, right? So
Hmm.
it's a backwards concept, but I'm just hoping, Sarah, that this is a mission that we can kind of help people live and not die so quickly to the situation of how can I say this without sounding weird about it? Um,
I would
I'm just
encourage you to lean into the weird. Lean into
well,
whatever that weird statement is and just say it.
it's almost like I want to call PETA, and I want to get, you know, other vegans that reverse their health issues and show their before and afters, like I do with my pictures in my restaurant, because I want people to see what I look like before. And it's a clear picture. It's not a grainy picture of me. It's not a picture that doesn't look like me. You'll see, I was dark under my eyes. I was swollen. My stomach was, you know, swollen. My neck was swollen. And it was hard even. And I probably was close to having a heart attack, and I'm like, I don't know what to say when I see a young kid, a young woman that's, stomach is like down to their knees, and that's normal. I mean, how did we get to the place where we got sickly, overweight young people? And of course, I'm not trying to body shame anybody, but it's hard for me to believe, and what I'm gonna say is gonna, possibly get me in a whole lot of trouble. But it's like when I know that cholesterol medication is being given out like candy, when I know that young people have diabetes and they shouldn't, when I know that high blood pressure is the leading cause to strokes. My niece had a stroke at 47 years old. 47. Okay. And she thought she was going to leave here, and she almost did. My sister died at 52 of diabetes. I'm like, how much more can we say? And then when people get convenient, I've had people walk out of the restaurant because we had to wait 15 minutes for a burger, because we make it fresh when you come in the door. We want you to have fresh food. I'm not going to rush it, but we try to get you in and out less than 6 minutes, right? But at the end of the day, we've gotten we want everything so quick, but we don't want to spend any time for our own lives. How did we get to this place? How did we get to this place that we stop caring about our own lives? That convenience is better. Microwaving everything is the better way. And it's like, how did we get uh, um, hypnotized, or what's the word I want to use? That's not the right word.
Like brainwashed.
Brainwashed is the word I'm looking for. Convinced that that is the way we're supposed to be, and I'm so upset with the industry for saying that this is okay. We don't get after Eli Squid for giving us more medication. We don't get after matter of fact, I was watching a commercial, and I think the name of the medication was um, something Zanica, something, I can't think of what it was. But anyway, the guy says, you may have runny bile, your eyes may jump backwards, your leg may shake, you may have involuntary movement, but take this medication for that. And that medication is going to cause your kidneys to shut down, but it's going to possibly make you feel a little better for your foot to stop hurting, even though your eye may start turning backwards in your head and your hair may turn green. But take that and take this medication. And so the medical community from taking this medication is what you need to do. And doctors get paid an extra dime to write the prescription for you to take, but never tell you, why don't you eat a little bit more red vegetables? And why don't you eat, a little bit more of this? Why don't you try to not eat meat for maybe 1 week and see how you feel? Let's do that. Let's take sugar completely out of your diet for like a couple of days just to see how you feel. No,
Yeah.
let's give you this medication. Let's give you this medication and let it kill you and you're making us more money, so the weird thing about it is that I care enough about you to say, do you think that the way that you're eating is the better way to eat than to eat this way? Because I got proof on my side, and I see the proof on your side, and my side looks a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, no,
That's the weird part.
absolutely. And that is, what more could you possibly need in terms of proof other than the actual results that you've had? What could possibly be more clear to people? I don't really know, other than it's just an unwillingness to actually start something different or to change. Nobody likes to hear the word change
Yeah,
put into any context with them.
yeah,
Um, I mean, that, and in addition to something you had said a few moments ago about how did we get like this? How did we find ourselves here? How did we find ourselves being so young and so sick?
yeah.
And, of course, I mean, it's societal living, it's a societal conditioning that has happened that we've accepted, in addition
It's
to
here.
the addictive properties that are in food, right? I mean, it's one thing to have the animals causing so much trauma to our systems, but then when you go ahead and add things that are addictive to those foods on purpose,
Yeah,
so you keep coming
yeah,
back and purchasing them, so then
yeah.
you have to find yourself at your doctor's office purchasing medicine and managing a disease that is completely preventable,
Mm-hmm.
and then going back and eating the same thing that has the same addictions laced in it. It's just this cycle, constant.
Sarah, you just said something that I didn't think about. But the other thing that you just said, and I did not think about that. The foods that they're lacing for you to continue to come back. Now, understand something. MSG makes you eat. It makes you want more. You're never getting hungry. I mean, never getting satisfied. So
Mhm.
so the MSG that they put in foods. I read some study somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong here. That tells me that MSG is never good for your body, and yet people still eat it, even though they know it's not good for you, right? And so when I see a person walk in my restaurant and they're overweight and they're tired and they want an answer and they want a quick fix too. They want it to go away quick. They want it to leave it quicker, but they are not completely convinced that our way is the better way. I'm literally at the point, Sarah, that I'm like, God dang it already. Do you want to leave this earth right now? Um, but I don't know the answer anymore, but I do know that we have options out here and we have good restaurants out here that want to help you live your life better than what we have. What I can tell you is that my diet is the one main reason that has kept me into the space of being able to um, live an effective life the way that I have had to live, because I've got these other physical issues that are happening. I wanted to spend this time with you because I want to know what can we do to build, like, in one I guess I could say it this way. In some cases, some people would rather have a restaurant that you can sit down in, right?
Mhm.
In some cases, people say, well, it doesn't matter, as long as I can get the food. What's the answer? If we give you food that's healthy for you, that tastes good, that is good for you and good to you, can we suggest or recommend that we have answers? Is it okay to say that we want you to not eat the Beyond Meat products and not eat these other products? Or do we say, as long as it's vegan, go for it? I think, like what you said in the beginning, that it's a good segue for when you are transitioning, right? If you're transitioning, that's one thing. But if you're not, and once you transition through and you start learning a little bit more, is it possible to stay on that process and then stop eating the foods that's causing cancer, causing products? You understand what I'm trying to say?
Here's
How
what
do
I
we?
believe. Here's what
Okay.
I believe, Chef T. Here's what I believe. I believe that people in your position and the position I was in way of having a physical place to prepare actual food for people,
Mhm.
feeding people instead of selling food. Now, that's not to say that it's free or anything, right? I mean, let's not get
Mm.
ridiculous.
Sure.
But there's a difference between going into a place to acquire food where people are feeding you versus selling you food, right? You are feeding
Mhm.
people, you are
Yeah,
nourishing people. And I
absolutely.
think from there, we need to teach other people how to do that for themselves.
And you know what I do? I take them to grocery stores. I will meet people at grocery stores and I will take them shopping. I go all the way to the core by showing you how to do what it is you need to do. I don't want you to just be vegan as much as I want you to understand how to do it. So I've gone shopping with my customers. I've
Mhm.
met them
Yes.
in the grocery stores. Um,
You're a busy lady. I'm so thankful you carved out time for me today, even if it is on the go.
I did not want to miss this at all. Period. But
okay. So one of the things that I would often say is that when people say, well, I don't know what to go buy, don't worry. What grocery store do you go to? And then I will meet them at the grocery store, you know, and then I not only will I meet them at the grocery store, I prove to them, I said, now I want you to do two things. Go buy what you would normally buy. Okay. Go buy what you normally buy. And let's go to the cashier. And I want you to ring up what you would have purchased on a weekly basis. And then I'm going to buy what you need. And let's measure how much it's going to cost you. My bill is always cheaper. And then I come to your home and I will show you how to prepare it. I'm going to show you how to cut it up. I'm going to show you how to, put it in the containers. It is so much fun. It's family time. You can get with your family. You can get with your kids. You guys can cut apples and tomatoes and all of that and set it aside. And then, the most beautiful thing is when you've got all of this stuff already pre-scheduled, pre-set up, right? And once it's pre-set up, you are now at a position where you are, participating in building meals together with your kids, with your family, with your husband, your spouse, with your girlfriend. We don't have time for each other anymore. We don't fellowship with anyone anymore. We don't come talk to people anymore. We do everything on the go, but we always want to have time. Time for what? So why not find that family time again? Why not go to the grocery store and get a few, just try it for a couple of days and see if you like it. Because people say, well, I don't have the time to do it. What else do you have to do? You have nothing else but time. We're such in a hurry that we're ready to leave this earth. And if we don't get ourselves together, that's what we're going to end up doing, dying quicker than we're supposed to, instead of taking the time to, to be kind enough to ourselves to show that we can actually do this particular thing, like building our own health, building our own process, building our own families units back together again, spending time with one another, and making us, table for one, or at least the most important thing in the equation, instead of allowing ourselves to be removed by saying, I don't have the time to shop. I don't have the time to cook. Oh, I got to get it sent from some other company. It's better if you do it yourself because you can control what it is that you do. But
Well, and
I
it's
think
like,
that's what.
don't you deserve better? don't you deserve that better for yourself?
I say yes. I just don't understand why, and listen, you can go to Aldi's today and buy your vegetables. Aldi's is a very good space to buy good food from. You don't have to go to, Mariano's, and if you have the money to do it, so, by all means do it, go. Illinois is full of farms, and there are so many farms that are open. Go down, you can go down Salk Trails um, in Illinois and hit like several different, farms. You can go out to Kankakee and go down the road and see like 1,000 farms selling all kind of vegetables and fresh vegetables there is. But I just don't understand, Sarah, why we've become a lazy people that want a pill to reverse something that took me years to get to.
Something else I'll add to that, and I question whether it's laziness or whether it is such an ingraining of hustle culture that you have to just keep going and being productive and just go, that we have lost sight of the things that are truly important because we're putting more emphasis on the things that don't matter and less on the things that do.
I think that's a better way of saying it, because laziness is very harsh. I agree with that. I do agree with that. Um, I wish there was a way we could fix it. And I think having more dialogue like this is a way to do it, because if we don't, I'm seeing companies like a few of the restaurants closing because we don't have enough people to support us. McDonald's are popping up all over. The White Castles are popping up all over. The bigger burger places are popping up all over. Their meat is going down. You know, our society is getting bigger and slower, and we think that we can go to the gym and work it off, but still eat the same way and not have the same quality of life that we need. I'm thinking, take hold of your quality of life again. Take hold of your physical mind again. Take hold of your ability again. Take hold of your future by not allowing yourself to be engaged by convenience. And that's the problem. We would rather have convenience than to sit back and say, I want to take back my life. So I do intermittent fasting because I tell my body when it can eat, not when it wants to. I just don't let myself eat whatever, whenever. I tell my body when it's ready to eat. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's like you're in control of that, and I think we need to come back to less convenience and more intentionality. We're not intentional. And I do agree with you when it comes down to the point of saying that um, we have it, but we don't want to spend the time to do it. So we'd rather have somebody else do it for us. But we don't want to spend the money when it's the real thing, because we still want the convenience of it to be cheaper. We want what we want the way we want it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Else, yeah, something else that stands out to me when you said, I tell my body when it is going to eat, not the other way around,
yeah.
is something else that society has groomed us to believe. So the concept of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? This breaking up of meals during these specific different times a day, that is something that has happened, that has been intertwined with the work industry, right? So you eat before you go, you're allowed a break in the middle of your day, and then you go home to eat. And you do this on a schedule of 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, in a way to be in a robotic, productive state of mind that keeps you coming back to do work that is purposeful, not for yourself and your wellness and your life, but for somebody else's, right? It's not serving you, it's serving somebody else. And putting on a schedule of eating strategically 3 times a day like that is also getting you in the mindset of that 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week or more, 365 days a year type of mentality for somebody else's purpose.
Wow. That's a mic drop right there. That's a mic drop. Oh my God. You're so right. You know, you're absolutely right. But and that's a regiment that we've gotten trained and groomed to do and not even realize that we're enslaved to it.
Because you don't have to
But
eat like that. Like you
you do
said,
not.
who made that up? Who told us we needed to eat like that? It's a systemic type of ingraining.
It is. You're absolutely correct. And when I tell people that my son and I both are uh we are intermittent fasters. And both of us, when we told people that, they looked at us like we were aliens. They were like, well, you don't eat breakfast? And my son said, no. What about lunch? My son's like, no. I never forget this when he did it. It was so cool because he's like, we both at the same time said it. We tell our bodies when it's hungry. And we tell our bodies when we're going to eat, and we tell our bodies what it's going to eat. So we're in control of our physical body. My son has an 8-pack, not a 6, but an 8-pack. He's one of those that was lucky enough to have that extra muscle there. And we both have a better focus. We're driven. I don't use an alarm clock to get up. I wake up automatically at 5 and I'm like, oh my God, what time is it? It's 5:01. Like, wow, okay. Great timing. And one thing I like to try to do with that is not hit the snooze button, because now I'm when you hit the snooze button, in my mind, it is almost like procrastination. What am I procrastinating for? So stop procrastinating. Get up, do what you got to do, have your day, put everything you need to do in your day. And even though you may forget every now and again things that you have planned for, but try to use all of your day as intentionally as possible so that you can at least see your purpose unravel in a good way. You know what I mean? Like what you're doing right here. I hope, Sarah, and pray that people are listening and that they hear that there is a better way of life, and that it's not as expensive as people think, and that they understand the truth and they ask questions, and that they start investigating and researching everything there is to research, so that they will not just allow the world or the culture or the government to tell them what they can and cannot have and cannot do and be. And think
Correct.
that that's normal.
Right. Yeah.
Because
And think that that's normal. That's the thing. Like you should not be relying on any kind of outside source of yourself to tell you what to do for your own body.
yeah, we're not the ones that's different. They are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. It's like I'm starting to get people coming into the restaurant now that are slowly coming over into this lifestyle, and they're like, I could actually do this. And I'm like, you can't.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about how they're seeing the recklessness of their life, and how the government has, I hate to say it's the government, but whoever groomed us to eat the way that we see society eating, and why we're the biggest culture out there. Why are we the biggest culture? Americans are the biggest culture. We are dying earlier. We have more physical issues, and we're looking older when we're supposedly having more convenience. I don't understand.
Well,
You would think we would
convenience doesn't translate into what is best for us, right? I mean,
that's true.
everybody wants something without having either to done the work for it or to have done the research for it or to made the effort for it. Most of us have been conditioned to want something instantly, right? And that has developed from places like fast food restaurants that, give you something unrealistically fast because it was never something that was created by anybody's hands that are actually in that kitchen, right? It was all shipped in frozen and they're just warming it up. So I told my son the other day, actually, it's funny that I say that, we're walking around Costco, and not to say anything bad about Costco, but I'm looking at these packaged meals in such bulk, and I'm thinking about all the Costco's around the country, right, that have these same bulk products on their shelves of processed
Yep,
food. And I said,
yep.
you know, anything that is made in that big of a volume is not something that you should want to be putting in your body,
Exactly. Exactly.
right?
That part. That part right there.
But it's convenient, you know, so that's what people gravitate towards. And getting them off of that mentality and the work that you're doing every day in your kitchen space to help them understand that, you know, it might take a minute, but it's going to be the best meal that they've ever had. It might take a minute, but it's going to nourish you like nothing else does. You know, it might take a minute, but it doesn't include all of the chemicals and additives and other unwellness properties that you're going to get if you go down the street, right? And not only that, you are getting the knowledge from somebody like Chef T. I mean, that in and of itself, just walking into your space for that, you know, I mean, the advocacy that you are doing every single day, just even by sharing your story and your knowledge is just invaluable to everybody that walks in your restaurant.
It's my pleasure to do it. I'd rather see you live and die. And the gentleman that I was his chef for a while who got his kidneys replaced, um, he's a testament in itself. His wife told me, my husband's gonna die if he doesn't get his kidney. And when I
Mm.
met him, he was depressed, he was tired looking, he was overweight, and he says, I'm always hungry, and they said I can only get this and I can only have that. And so I researched everything I could about people who need a kidney replacement. And I found out something when I first got with him. I gave him two less because he had high blood pressure too. So I wasn't using any kind of seasonings for him. And I said, wait a minute, hold up. He was eating meat. I don't use meat. I use seitan. He can have more. So I started making all this stuff and he's eating it and it's flavorful for him. And he started picking up his weight. His blood pressure started balancing off. He lost all the weight that he needed in October of 2019. He got his kidney replaced. Okay, from his twin brother. He's still vegan till this day, and it was all because of the fact that I was like, oh my God, Eureka! He doesn't eat meat. I'm not giving him meat. Before they were giving him meat, he could have 2 pieces of chicken, a little bit of rice, a little bit of beans, or whatever the case is. He loves chickpeas. I was making chickpea everything. Chickpea, crab cakes for him. No real crab. You know, chickpea this and chickpea stew and and wraps and all this other stuff. And when he was able to eat normally, he was like, why do I need meat again? I'm like, I don't know. Why? But he got his kidney and he's back to normal, and he's no longer eating any kind of animals. He's only eating as a vegan. So that's a true story.
That is the magic right there. You
Yeah,
created that for him. That right there is the real work that you're doing every day. You gave that man his life back. And
absolutely.
that is not an overstatement at all.
At all. At all. I'm still amazed by that. When his wife called me and said, you know, he's getting his kidney and I was gonna close and go to he was at the Hopkins hospital and I was gonna go, but they wouldn't allow but two family members to be there. And
Mm.
so it was him and his mom and his wife, of course, which makes sense. But I just wanted to be in the hospital just so I could be there when he came out of surgery. So it's a wonderful feeling to have that as a testament for Vegan Teas to be the chef. I was his chef. I was scared to no end, but I was like, let me just research and see what it is that he can have, and let me find out how I can partner with what he can have so that he can live. And that's what we do. So anyway,
That is amazing. I just love that story. I love real life stories like that, that absolutely those are the stories. Those are the real life changes that people enjoy and
Yeah,
realize when they understand that they do not need animals on their plate.
at all, at
Those are the
all.
stories that make people believers. Those are the stories that help somebody push their own dial forward and,
Yeah.
realize that that could be their success story.
How bad do you want to live? Or how quick do you want to die? That becomes the question,
Yeah. Yeah. What are
you
you
know?
doing every day? Is it promoting life or is it promoting death? It's one of
Yeah,
the two.
absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, that's it just dawned on me that, when they came into my restaurant, it's on my page. I need to revisit that page and send it out again so people can see his face and how he's doing. His name was Kurt. And when he came into the restaurant, his face is so humble because I remember how he looked the day I met him.
Yeah.
And he looked like he had given up on life. He was slumped over the table, and he just seemed like he really had given up. And I said, well, we can go through this journey together, or we can give up. Let me know what I'm dealing with before I start. And when he said I'm not ready to give up, I was like, well, let's go. Let's do it. And every so often he stops in. He still lost all of the weight. He looks like he's lost 20 years in time because he looks younger. And he walks in with this big old grin every time I see him, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't recognize you. You lost even more weight. And he says, I'm coming to get my lifesaver, and it's called the Mediterranean wrap. That's the wrap I made for him. I made it for him to try to give him a little bit more bulk. And I can sell that for hardly no money because it doesn't take a lot of money to make it, right? So I have this thing where I don't like to charge more for a product that I know didn't cost me but 30 cents to make. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I think that could be part of the problem for vegan teas down the line of trying to, not go up on prices. But I would rather you be able to afford the food and live than to not be able to afford the food and die, you know. So I'm gonna stick to that one. Or at least try anyway. Best I can.
No, that's beautiful. And I love that you're influencing people every day in your space to just make better choices and take control of their health and their well-being. Chef T, if you were to leave our listeners with some parting words today, some words of inspiration, what would they be?
They would be this. Life is too short and eternity is too long not to explore vegan lifestyle for only if it's for 1 week, just to experience, vegetables that you've never had before, and to break out of the mode of tradition. I think that fear is so far that the confidence of starting something brand new is what makes us all live with intentionality. And so one thing I would love to say, and I'm gonna say it because you know me, is this. We only have one day at a time that we have in our hands. And so by allowing yourself to experience something brand new, like what we do as vegan, not that we're aliens from some different earth or so, but it's the fact that we have enough in us to experience the nuances of what all of the things that God put on this great earth that is already in our hands that we can actually, experience. And until you experience all of those vegetables that we have and all of the different products that's out here, all of the seasonings that we have and all of the different grains that are out there that we've forgotten about, like mullet. I mean, oh my God, it's some of the best out there that you may have never had before. before you sit back and say, oh, only thing you guys do is eat vegetables. That is a limitation of the lack of knowledge. And so when you have more knowledge about a thing, it expands you, it gives you more breadth, and it makes you feel better without having to take any medication. It extends your life, and it also gives you better energy, better clarity, and you don't have to leave here with Alzheimer's, blood pressure issues, heart attacks, high cholesterol, or be on medication. Americans are on too much medication as it is. And other countries like blue states don't even use them. So why do we? So if convenience is what causes us to die early, I'd rather have inconvenience any day so that I can experience my life in such a way that experiencing something brand new to keep my body healed, to keep my brain with clarity, I'll do it. So that's what I would say. And coming into our restaurant and trying it for yourself. And if it's not good, then we fail. But if you like it, then we have an opportunity to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and it's very easy to do. It's not difficult at all. I said
It's
more
as
than I should.
difficult. No, absolutely not. I've loved every word of that. I've enjoyed every minute of this conversation. You absolutely lit up the mic today. And it was a wealth of just truth and knowledge. And I'm incredibly excited to share this with everybody.
I hope so. I mean, because I'm trying to say more in little time, and that's hard for me because I literally I went to a vegetable stand, like the Pete's Produce one time. And every time I went in, I said, well, what is that? Because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what that vegetable was. I said, well, how do you cook it? And it was cactus. Well, how do you cook that? And what does it taste like? And instead of me turning my nose up, I'm like, let me know the truth about it. And if I don't like it, it won't be because I didn't try it. It's because of the fact that I did. What does it have to hurt? I mean, what does it have? What do you have to lose? And the benefit from it is always a gain. And here I am, 100 pounds, 110 pounds lighter, because I was willing to make that change in my life. Of course, we're never going to live. People say, well, you got to die of something. Yeah, you do, but not of that. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to die of that. And no, high blood pressure is not hereditary. Diabetes type 2 is not hereditary. We ate it on. Being overweight is not hereditary.
It drives me crazy when people say, well, you have to die from something. Yes, you do. But also, do you have to suffer that whole path with all that disease up until the point you finally die from it?
Good point. Yeah, that's a checkmate right there.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah, it does. And when I see younger people who are younger than me look older than me, and I'm going to say that my son, and I'm not telling you how old I am, is 45. Just saying. So
you're beautiful on the inside and out.
I try hard, darling.
I don't even think you need to try. You're just your inner beauty makes your outside beauty just so prominent, and it just glows naturally from you. And no doubt it is, for one thing, just who you are, but also the way you're nourishing yourself day in and day out has a direct impact on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that. And same with you. I mean, it's like your skin is glowing, darling. So it's like, and I think we can go back and forth, over and over about the dying early, but people really want to get into the health. But what I think, the health portion is they want it in a pill form, and they want it, quick, and they don't want to work for it. And they want the shot without the shot comes with what's the word I want to use here? It comes with provisions that may not be conducive to health. It's going to cause other other issues to your body. If you get something for convenience and it worked, what else is it causing in your body that's not going to work down the line, right? And this is, I'm going to say this really quickly. A friend of mine took some pills to lose weight. She did lose weight. She's lost the insurance and she stopped taking those pills. Now she's 5 times bigger than she was before. But the weight that she gained looks so weird. It doesn't even look normal. She's very fluffy, like the weight on her body is very fluffy. And so now we're talking like the difference between, remember lard back in the day, that fluffy, oil that when it cooled off, it turned that white,
Yeah.
fat that's no good for your body. And so now she has all of these other conditions. She breathes hard. She can't walk well. She can't, she looks tired all the time. And I asked her, I said, do you think that the contributing factor of the way why you gained the weight that you did came from the pills that you were taking? And she says, well, yeah, but I like the way I looked. Oh my gosh. So I says, well, have you considered maybe possibly not eating the the foods that contributed you to go back to this weight? And she said, well, yeah, but I like to snack. So every time I said something, it was yeah, but we got to remove the but out of the equation. And is your life worth living intentional? So again, I will say, take that journey, go to a vegetable stand, go to the produce department, ask for the produce manager to come out. They would love to talk to you about the different fruits and vegetables because that's what they went to school for. They just have nobody to talk to. So guess what they do? They put presentations out there to make you want to, but nobody's there to listen to what they've learned. And I say, take the journey. Do more than what's in your kitchen. Do more than the average 7 vegetables that you know what they are. And entertain yourself once a week by purchasing one vegetable that you've never had, one piece of fruit that you've never had before, and find out what it tastes like, find out how you eat it, when the best time, what season is the best time to purchase it, and then try it and see if you like it. And then do it again another day, and do it again another day, until you find yourself consistently doing it, until you find yourself a whole year later eating vegetables.
I love that so much. Those small little steps that people think are no big deal are the things that accumulate and become the big life-changing things that you do on a regular basis.
That part.
I
I'm
have,
telling you, that is the part that is going to take their life into a whole total different, experience. And it's sort of like a discovery because we love to discover things. We do. I think every human being out here wants to discover something. So that's my challenge to every listener that listens here. You asked me, Sarah, what can I say to leave you with? My challenge is, I don't care if you do it for a day or a week, but I want you to go through the grocery store and pick up one grain or one vegetable that you've never had. Ask when is the best time to buy that. Ask what do you do with it? Ask how do you prepare it? Google it, God dog it, and find out how to cook that bad boy and sit down and try it and say, what would I give it? Would I become the food critic at that moment and say, I tried cactus and I prepared it like they said. I either hated it or I'll give it a number 5, or hey, wait a minute, I could do this again. It's going to be one of those 3 components. And when you do, you'll find yourself saying, okay, let me try another one. And you may find yourself eating it more than one time. You may find yourself eating it for the whole week. I did that with avocado. I ate avocado so much until, I eat an avocado every day. Every day I eat it in some kind of way. I love avocados, so I find myself continuing to eat it so that it's just something that I do. So again, I really challenge people to do that and see how long it lasts. And I guarantee you, you'll make it all the way to the next year. Because
I
I
love
did.
that. Yeah,
I
that's
did.
fantastic. I love it.
14
Chef,
years ago.
yeah. You know what? And that's funny that you say that because that's about my timeline too. So
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah. We're sisters in the veganism. There you go.
Absolutely. I'm so just thrilled that you shared this space with me today. I am so thankful that you are doing the work that you're doing and glad to know you, ecstatic to know you. And
Same.
I'm just thrilled that there's people like you advocating for this life. Thank you,
It's
Chef
worth it.
T.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on today. I so appreciate it. I wish you many blessings, and I hope that you get a lot of people involved in wanting to know about what we do and know that it's, that you can heal yourself by what you eat and what you put into your body.
Absolutely. That's what we do. That's what we show up for every day.
Yeah, that part. That part.